What I have today could be considered a Prevost bus killer, which is why we're out here in the middle of the night where this coach can be in its element hunting Prevost buses. In a lot of ways, it has measurements that are incrementally better than a Prevost bus. But as you know, it's not about what's on paper. It's about what the bus is like to interact with and as an RV. So being a VanHool is rare enough. And this one was built for a famous race car driver and has a deck on the roof. And there's a lot of other things about this particular bus that make it pretty unique. This is called the Acron face, and I think it's a pretty aggressive looking front end. And let me tell you, that one piece up there, so that big piece of glass is a panoramic piece. There's no seal in between. It gives you an absolutely incredible view when you're inside the coach. And natural lighting is very important to a bus, especially when you're at a beautiful resort or a beautiful location. You want to be able to see out of your bus. This is going to be like a grand theater showcasing wherever your location may be. Now, if it gets too hot, you can quickly and easily cover them with shades, and it actually does serve pretty well in the heat. And there's 5 cruise air conditioners. That's right. Prevost buses typically come with 4. This has 5. So there's 2 up in the front cockpit area, meaning you can be extremely comfortable in the summer heat, and this coach won't even be breaking a sweat. All of these lights up here have been upgraded to these extremely bright LED lights, including the fog lights down below, which serve as running lights. Now down the sides, you'll notice we have 2 massive Girard awnings that nearly cover the entire length of the coach. And on the other side, you have matching boxes so the coach looks symmetrical. Down in these bays, this first one right here is where our 250-gallon fuel tank is. That's right, the H345 has the bigger fuel tank out of the 2 Prevost buses, the XL and the H345, and that is 230 gallons. This is 250. Accessible from both sides of the bus, and it has this ingenious cap, which is satisfying to operate. I've seen these on big trucks and on some Prevosts, and it beats unscrewing a cap by a long shot. Now up here in the middle of the coach, you'll notice a side camera, and this coach is equipped with the camera system and the head unit for a 360 camera system and a camera to put onto your trailer. It's not currently working, but the main hardware is installed. There is a full-size back door that leads into the bedroom. And down here we have this huge step mechanism that becomes super sturdy and is a second entrance to the bus. When you open that massive rear hatch that gives you excellent access to the engine, you'll notice some very unique things. First of all, the side radiator is set up perpendicular to the rear and front of the coach, which gives you much better access to the fan clutch, radiator, and all the accessories that go along with having a side radiator. Now we have our standard dipsticks, for one for the transmission, we have one for the oil, and you can top it off quite easily. And what's interesting is you can check your oil level when the coach is running through the see-through jar where oil will circulate. It seems mildly accurate. It's not as good as the dipstick, of course, but it is pretty cool that you could just eyeball it and make sure that you're at least running with enough oil in your coach without having to draw the dipstick out. There is, of course, a rear start, so you can start this M11 from back here, and up in the top left of this engine bay, you can check your coolant level by just eyeballing this cylinder, which is much easier than the tiny portholes that you get in most Prevost buses. This particular coach has the M11 Select Plus, which is making 450 horsepower and 1,450 foot-pound of torque. And guess what? Those two stainless exhaust pipes are both for the M11. And when it comes to exterior design, everything has clean and tidy and orderly lines that just give this bus a look like it's going 80 miles an hour down the road. Now, right in here, we have an interesting compartment that has to do with our air conditioning system. These two, I believe, are condensers, and they both slide out. So they're on slide trays. You undo these bolts, and they both slide out for super easy access. The other cruise airs are all The other cruise air components are all hidden up in the rest of the coach with other nice accessible points, but this is by far the easiest that I've seen on any coach. The salon space in here is decked out in leather. And honestly, a lot of the front space of this coach is covered in leather. The entire cockpit is pretty much wrapped in it, and all of this furniture, these barrel chairs, this plush couch that does extend, so you can push a button right here, and this piece will extend to just increase the size so you can sleep there at night. The leather is in excellent condition. It goes super well with the rest of the interior. And that's a huge problem on some of these older conversion buses. So let's step into this galley space right here. And that's where we begin to see this beautiful marble floor. And marble has that look to it that, you know, it looks more like a stone than any other hard surface floor, in my opinion. We have a nice little countertop space here with a little lip built in, so to protect you from spills. A huge solid Corian piece that covers our solid surface sink. We have a dual princess stove right here, flat top, and right above it we have a microwave convection oven. So this is a pretty standard setup. There's a lot of storage down below here. There's storage packed away in a way that's very seamless, you know, exactly what you expect in this type of coach. This right here is a nice little dinette area with an extremely comfortable J booth. And just to add to the fun, we've got a little cooler box over here with a Corian cover. There's a drain, and yeah, you can have a little cooler box in addition to your refrigerator. There are outlets everywhere, and a couple of them have been updated to USB, so you can plug USB directly into the coach. You also have your standard outlet. Cup holders built in. I've found that to be very thoughtful. And it's not just for driving, it's also for hanging out in the coach. If you're hanging out sitting in this spot right here, it's kind of hard to have drinks in your armrest space, and things can get knocked over, especially if you invite me into your coach. So it's nice to have these little cup holders here that you can take out and clean very easily. Wow, you can actually see the thickness of the Corian. They're very thick. Now, before we continue into the bathroom space, let's take a peek at the control center. So right now we have the generator running. The two inverters up top are maintaining your batteries, and they are also providing you with power throughout the coach. So as you can see, they're very nicely labeled. You can go down there and find out exactly where these inverters are in relation to these remotes. Now down below we have a Sony head unit for the surround sound system, and you can connect to this with your phone via Bluetooth, which is really nice. Look at that. It's got Bluetooth pairing. It's pretty sweet. Now down below is where you can maintain and watch all of your AC circuits, as well as all of your 12 volt DC circuits down below. Got a direct TV, so there's a satellite dish up top. There's still a direct TV box in here. You can check your tank levels. You can also dump your tanks from inside the coach via that panel. So there's another panel identical down out in the plumbing bay. Up above here we have another set of generator gauges, so you can see the water temperature, the engine oil pressure, and make sure your generator is operating as it should be. You can control water pumps from here. You have another house master switch, TV lift. So that's how you get your TV up in the front. And it's a one touch, so you press it once and that TV will come up. This entire panel, you undo a few screws and undo these latches right here, and the entire rack will slide out for easy access for servicing. And this door is pretty cool too, so you can easily hide in a very nice manner. And bye, it's gone. Now across from the control center, we have our refrigerator here, and this is a household refrigerator. I don't have it switched on right now, but it works great. We've got an ice maker on the left. And that's sort of the cool thing about having those breaker controls. It really allows you to control everything and manage from a high level on this bus. Right here is our bathroom space, and this is huge, first of all. But second of all, there's a jacuzzi tub in it. That's pretty cool, okay? This is the first coach I've ever seen with a jacuzzi tub in it. What I also like though is you still have this very nice enclosed shower that's extremely spacious. So once you jump in here, I mean, this is huge. Close this off. You've got a pretty massive size shower, and I have to say, there's quite nothing like it. I'm probably echoing like crazy. Because when you're sitting in there, it's just like you're sitting in this big globe. I don't know how to explain it, but it's a very unique shower. And look at these accent pieces too. They call these scene lights, but they look stunning. And every little piece is finished out. All of this is covered. All of this up here is still trimmed in leather. The ceiling panels are stunning. Now there's a massive vanity here with this beautiful mirror setup. Looks like the lights are just coming out of the mirror. Lots of storage back behind it. There's a very deep, bold sink right here. And there's incredible storage down below too. Now this marble is heated, and you set the temperature with this thermostat right there, and let me tell you, it's quite terrific. Now right here we have our toilet area. It has a built-in macerator in that toilet, a huge vanity. I love these accent lights too, and you'll notice them throughout the bus, but they're in this bathroom too. They're just up there and they're hidden within that fabric. Looks very nice. But yeah, that's a Tecma toilet, and it was replaced not too long ago. Now here we have these nice amounts of storage, and right there is a gym. And what this gym is made up of are alphabetized manuals along with multiple copies of the original service manuals and the original schematics from VanHool. There are also extensive schematics and original sketches and other interesting things from Caldwell brothers when they converted the bus. Having these schematics will significantly help an experienced technician work on this bus. It's pretty much life or death to an extent. It saves a whole lot of time having this stuff in the coach. In addition, there are lots of service records, and when you go through them, it further drives home the point that this bus was taken care of properly. Some of the highlights include new airbags, batteries, new 4,000 watt apiece inverters, there's 2 of them, a new toilet with a built-in macerator, a full proper all-wheel alignment and adjustment from ABC Bus, ride height adjustment. You see all the proper records of service over the years. So all the nitty-gritty, all the details have been very well thought of, and on top of that, recorded. All right, now that we've finished our nerd out session, let's continue on with the storage space here. So lots of storage in here, as you can tell. Here's another wardrobe. And there is a built-in fantastic fan in here with a filter. It's actually a pretty cool setup. But it can draft out your, steamy air in here from the shower quite easily. And there's a couple of drawers down here. And then we walk into the bedroom space. Now the bedroom space is pretty decked out. We've got these gorgeous accent lights that surround it. All of these scene accent lights are dimmable. And I always like running accent lights at night, but sometimes they can be a little too bright. It depends on what you like, of course. So you can turn off these upper accent lights, and then you can just have these dim down. So it depends on what you like, but we've got this right here, and we've got this right here, all finished in a carpet with automatic switching for the lights. There is a TV back here. And down in here, we've got a lot of drawers. A lot of drawer space. So, storage is quite important on a coach like this, especially no slides. You want to have plenty of storage. All of these lights are directional, so you can just turn them anywhere you want. You can direct them exactly where you want the lights. But anyways, before I continue to ramble on, and trust me, I can really ramble on about this coach, let us go take a peek at that cockpit, which is absolutely stunning. And I've alluded to it before, but I really want to go through the controls and what it's like to be a driver in the bus. And we're also going to touch on what it's like to ride in the bus, because that is also an important factor. Let's jump into it. Nicely laid out. So on the left, we have our transmission control, our 6-speed Allison control, cruise control right here. We've got our bay door unlock and lock, which is air. We've got an emergency air brake release, which is not our main air brake release, but an emergency release. Now over here, we can dump the front. So this does have a kneel button, which is pretty dang unique for a conversion bus. So you flick that switch and the whole front end will kneel down, so it's easier to get in the coach. Tag dump switch, retarder switch. So here's our transmission retarder. Oh, it's just such a good motion. Beautiful gauges. I love these gauges. They're so colorful and gorgeous. Now over to the right, we have our switches. Main chassis cutoff right there. Auxiliary fans, all kinds of auxiliary fans. Super bright LED headlights. Here's our luggage compartment lights. We've got our air leveling down here, a block heater. Over to the right, we have our weather watch, which sort of does still kind of work. All of our, the output on the alternator for the generator, water temperature for the generator, oil pressure for the generator. We've got a house master switch, so we can kill all the interior power. Our backup monitor will come on this screen right here, so you push a button and it'll pop out. This is to open up the face, so the whole face of the coach will drop down. And this steering wheel is absolutely gorgeous. The turnstile feels substantial and solid too. Let's go drive it. The bus stays planted as you float down the road. And another thing a proper bus should offer is minimal engine vibrations to the cockpit. And you can certainly check that box here. It's so satisfying not feeling significant vibrations from the engine. It also has less sway than an H3 Prevost. It's in between the H3 and the XL on the sway meter. And my co-pilot tells me that she prefers the ride in the VanHool to an H. To be fair, she didn't ride in that Clint Black H3, but it is a terrific riding coach. Now, the 10.8 liter Cummins M11 Select, it sounds fantastic, and that undertone from the stainless steel exhaust is a beautiful complement to that classic Cummins engine noise. And while you might notice a 5 to 7% power difference when you are accelerating from 70 miles an hour beyond compared to the 500 or 515 you'll find in a Prevost bus, under 70 miles an hour, the power feels similar to a Prevost. You wouldn't even notice a difference. I couldn't notice a difference under 70 miles an hour. And that might be due to gearing differences or different ratio in the rear end. There are many different factors that contribute to acceleration. Oh, and the cockpit noise is minimal. I would say quieter than the average H3 conversion. I want to talk about how the bus actually feels as a driver. On the highway, even though it has the same width as a Prevost bus, the bus feels tiny in the lane. It's unbelievably easy to drive on the highway. It feels so relaxing to drive it. In fact, this is probably the least fatiguing bus I've driven in because of that fact. You know that keeping it centered in the lane is similar to a car, but much more difficult because the bus is much wider and sometimes they bounce out of the lane a lot depending on the coach. This coach feels tiny. It feels much more like a car. It's a unique feeling that's hard to explain. And when you drive it, and if you've driven other buses, especially if you've driven Prevost buses, I don't know what it is. Prevosts feel extremely wide on the highway. This thing feels tiny. And here's another thing. It's much more maneuverable than a Prevost bus. So not only do I think it feels easier to drive, I can say that hands down, even compared to that Clint Black, it's easier to drive than any Prevost bus. A big contributor to that is a shorter wheelbase and the driver positioning. The driver positioning in this coach gives you the best perspective I've ever felt on a coach, hands down. It's incredible. First of all, you can open that little window and get a direct view to your mirror. That's awesome. Second of all, the mirrors are excellent. And the third point is the driver positioning itself. Like, you're right up on the corner. And the way the cockpit is positioned, the glass that perfectly is pretty much flush with the front bumper, you get an excellent feeling of where the front of the bus is, which is absolutely necessary when you're trying to maneuver, because you've got to get as close to something as possible with your face to give you as much swing room. The maneuverability of this bus in tight spaces would make a Prevost owner cry if they were watching you, let me tell you. But yeah, it's an excellent driving coach. In fact, you probably shouldn't drive the bus until you decide you want to buy it, because once you drive it, it's just going to be a black and white decision for you. So in the rear here, we have access to our radiator. And again, this is a very unique positioning for a side radiator. Now right here, we have an air filter, and down below we have two 12-volt batteries, which are wired in a series to make 24 volts, and they are both on a slide-out tray. And while you might see some surface rust here and there, the underneath of the coach is actually in excellent shape. And now right here we have a lot of electronics, so you'll see fuses. So we have a starter motor fuse, we've got an AC main fuse for the 24 volt, I'm assuming that's for the chassis side, Webasto, speedometer, things like that. And what's super interesting is it's on this tray. So you can take this cover off and pretty much see everything. But I'm gonna put the cover back on here. And as you can see, it'll come farther out, but this just allows you just a nice little touch to make it more easy to service. Typically you don't see that in a lot of coaches, but it's not super shocking from VanHool, but this is pretty nice. With that radiator just set up the way it is and the engine set up the way it is, I would say that it's definitely, it's definitely a bus, a proper bus. And what I mean by that is it's easy to work on the chassis side. Now there are two 12-volt tenders. These are for the two batteries over there for your chassis side. This is part of our Webasto system right here, which is the diesel-fired hydronic heating system. Now right here is our plumbing bay. And the plumbing bay is the next bay over from the air conditioning slide trays, from the slide trays in front of the driver axle. And right here you can see you've got some AC control center. You've got an AC control center here, so you can turn breakers off for your air conditioners. You've got controls for your bay heat, air compressor, the accessory air compressor. You've got your AC main breaker. You can start your generator from out here too. And what's super cool is you can use this to see your load from outside of the bus. So you can see leg A, load current, and leg B, load current. So look at that. Right now I've got a bunch of air conditioners on, running on the generator. 15 amps of load on leg A, 38, 39. So you can see of load on leg B. So you can see the generator is putting out great. This thing's been sitting here running like this for the last 2 hours. Now this is to dump your tank. So they're push button, air operated. And down below, please don't mind the dirty cable. We have multiple air ballasts. I think those are called ballasts, or I'm not sure what the term is, but you see those white tanks? Essentially, my layman understanding is they hold pressure from the pumps. So what this means is you'll have a smooth delivery of water in the bus from your tank and your pumps. It won't be sporadic or anything like that. You've got built up pressure in addition to the pump. The pump is now cushioned, if you see what I'm saying. It's a super nice thing to have in a bus, and it's nice to see all these features, these high-end features really add up on this coach. Water filtration, of course, on the left. You've got water heater, electric water heater right there, and a nice little stainless outside shower. Could probably use a little bit of polishing, but it's not going away, and it just looks so classy out here. So right here we have our generator. So let's open this baby up. Fine, you're definitely gonna have to do a voiceover, my friend. So this is the passenger side access point to our pass-through storage compartment, and you can see there is a main power switch for the awnings as well as two hardwired switches. And down below we have remotes for the two awnings. Now over here we have a Corian pull-out box essentially that serves as a nice little kitchen aid. There's a little grill stand in there as well as a Traeger grill, so you can set up pretty nicely out here, especially with those awnings and this little table. So our massive oversized tanks are located back here, 180 gallons of fresh, 110 of gray, and 90 of black. Now here we have two Magnum inverters, 4,000 watts apiece. These were put in about 2.5–3 years ago. You have main breakers over here on the left, so you can break things down as far as bank A, bank B, and bank C. You can turn your house off here. So nice ability to store the coach without power if you'd like. Now the slide over there is air, but it sometimes works. I think the switch is just kind of faulty, but you can just use it as a manual slide, how I've used it right there. Same for the steps. The steps are air, and you really just have to pull them out manually. But yeah, I guess you could hook the air back up if you wanted to, but I guess, you know, if you plan on using the stairs or whatnot. But how the stairs really haven't been used by the previous owners. They are there and it's pretty cool. But yeah, you'd probably just leave them alone. Unless you wanted to, they are there, you can pull them out. Now all of these little lights are LEDs too, and they look really nice. This is really dirty. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing this very rare and unique coach. And for those of you who are interested and want to take advantage of having this rare opportunity, please feel free to reach out via text or call at 864-376-5600. And again, this is a rare and unique opportunity, and whoever gets it is getting a heck of a bus, that's for sure. Thank you so much for watching. Look forward to making more stuff on more cool RVs. Thank you.